Well, peace and blessing. We're so glad that Hannah joined. We one more again right here for zooming in on sustainability. This year, the Queen Quet head on the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I'm so glad for dear with all 100 children one more again, especially this your day. 100 children, imagine this your journey with me. This your show right here in South Kakalaki. Imagine that we to walk along this year. Yeah, by that water there. And then I want to see the tree. Ye shall be like the tree planted by the rivers of the water. He shall not be moved. So this your day. Want for spiritually join with me round this your tree. Or as we pay a little bit of homage to the ancestors with this your moment of silence, you see. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So glad to have all 100 children join we one more again for zooming in on sustainability and things like that. Now, Hannah ain't done yet me say that over and over, that Hannah must have just to join we for the first time. If you ain't done yet me say, Hannah must take care of the root for heal the tree. As you see, Yona, pond we Gullah Geechee Nation flag right there in the middle of the tree. But that one, ain't like this one, yeah. We're deep on the sea island from Jacksonville, North Kakalaki to Jacksonville, Florida. That one, the human body intertwined together like this, rooted in we culture, we that is souls of this your sea islands, or grew up right out this your soil. Well, you know one thing, because we be these your tree, or there by the river, the water and things like that. Or the tide going in, going out, going in, going out. And it takes some land without a doubt. So when this thing happen, some tree going like this year, and we need them for stay stand up like this year. And then these other rest of people are coming in here, over and over again, that do this year to the tree, chop them down. Why do this year? Because we want a true house on the ground. Well, we keep to do this year, ain't going to be no more tree, and surely ain't going to be no more we. And we be Gullah Geechee anointed people. So for all 100 children who they are joining all around the world, they getting me on GullahGeechee.tv. And you're not cracking teeth like this year. I'm going to help you out and speak like this. So I'm Queen Quet, and I'm not only the Chieftess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation, I'm also on a number of different boards and part of many different global collaborations. Well, my mother always said, charity begins at home and then goes abroad. Well, it's been interesting because I've gone abroad quite a bit, especially prior to the pandemic. And I've been blessed to be in the midst of people who had a passion for protecting human rights and protecting earth rights. There's a thing called earth justice. And we also often talk about environmental justice. Well, in the latter, I've been invited many times to Region 4, which is the southeastern region for the United States Environmental Protection Agency. They would always have these gatherings for the EJ groups, as they said. And the interesting thing I always took note of right away was that everybody there looked more like a me than in the bigger environmental groups and arenas and conferences. So I started thinking about that. It's interesting, it's called environmental justice. And then there's just us in here, where it's really a psychological thing we're doing here. We're playing word semantics because we're saying it's environmental justice, and I'm all for speaking things into existence, when actually the reason most of the people in those meetings are there is because of an injustice that has been done to their community. Well, many of those communities, clear cutting is one of the things that's happened that we don't often think of immediately as an injustice. Here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, clear cutting is one of the first signs that we have some people moving in, literally. The next thing we look for is whether or not they're putting up a gate. And if they are, we know they ain't none of we, tall. Now, you try to speak to people about the legacy of the tree, especially to us as indigenous people, the spirit that is within it as another living entity on the earth. A lot of people can't relate to that. So interestingly enough, there had to be planning laws. There had to be folks that stood up for the trees. I know you call us tree huggers, that then made it such that people had to get tree surveys before they could go around just cutting down every tree. So our oak trees in the Gullah Geechee Nation throughout what we call the Low Country, from Jacksonville, North Kakalaki to Jacksonville, Florida, you can often find a couple of things. And in South Carolina, you usually find this all along our coast. You'll find oak trees that have long gray beards, Spanish moss hanging from them. And you find our state tree a lot, the palmetto, which is in the center of the South Carolina flag. The way the Gullah Geechee Nation has a tree in the center of our flag with human bodies intertwined. Those human bodies represent our ancestors who normally were the ones that planted many of those trees that we get shade from today. They recognize having a balance, that everything didn't need to be clear cut, but that in fact, those trees provided more for you than we think about. They don't just provide the wood for housing or for the fancy floors that many of us, including me, like to see when we say we love the parquet floors. They don't just provide places that, oh, it's too hot, I need a place to stand underneath right now and things like that. That's not all they do. They actually sequester a lot of these emissions that are out there in the air. They take a lot of pollutants in, and what do? They do what we need to do. Pretty much they breathe out, give us fresh, clean air. That's part of the process of who they be. We need to be like the tree, giving life to the next generation. And even in terms of the ones that just thinking about how the shade is a good thing, yeah, when we now have heat island effect and we have weeks in a row with days of 100 plus degrees everywhere, yeah, we can appreciate more about the tree. Even before I came on the air, I was told about what's happening in California with the sequoia tree and how they're trying to wrap it right now in this fire-resistant substance, the way they've tested it on buildings so that they can see, can they protect it? And I immediately thought about our blessed angel oak. And God forbid that anything like a forest fire is coming. What would we do to protect her? And so as we protect the tree, we protect who we be. As we protect the land, the environment, we do that in a just way. We're doing that not just for today. We're doing it for future generations, the way our ancestors did when they planted these trees that others ignore when they come in and want to overbuild on our shore. So as we go to the Midlands and we go to the upcountry of South Carolina, we start to lose this ability to do what I said that even the trees seem to be doing, which is gets a little bit more taxing. And we leave from here saying, oh, it's so humid, it's hot, I have a hard time breathing. You get up there, it's for a different reason. It's because of pollutants that are in the air. The air quality is not pure, and the trees aren't there to help purify the air. So this is not unique to South Carolina. We found that this is an issue. We found that wildfires are an issue around the world. And so one of the boards that I sit on brought me on back home. That charity that had gone abroad brought me right on back home. And interestingly enough, I started working with South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light through being asked to be a panelist. And the next thing I knew, I was invited by the United Nations to be part of their interfaith leaders groups. And I sat in those meetings hearing about people with these tree planting projects all over the world, and how that was an action people were taking to try to push back against the climate that's changing. And I thought about, how could I change the climate in South Carolina and get more people involved in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? How can we do more for life on land, including that life being the tree? So along the way and along the journey, I encountered Sister Alecia Brewster. We first met up through Climate Reality. Many of you have heard of Climate Reality because of the US former Vice President Al Gore. He was also out there in California with us many years ago for the Global Climate Action Summit. Well, I had no idea that Sister Alecia and I would continue on this journey together through South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light. And so this whole month, from September the 4th through October the 4th, 2021, you're in the Gullah Geechee Nation. We've been joining she and telling the world, get rooted with we, plant a tree and support global reforestry. So Sister Alecia, how honey to do and what honey to do this your day and thing like that. We know that you like to be outdoors like a me. I hope you outside enjoying some shade from one of the good trees. How you be?
I am doing well. I am just really blessed to be with you. I have to be honest that it was a lot of me wanting to just be able to spend more time with you. Every time that I've been with you, I have learned so much and just been so inspired by the work that you're doing. And I, of course, appreciated the time being able to come down and spend with you out on St. Helena a couple of weeks ago and purchased the book, and just again have learned so much from the example that you and others in the Low Country are setting for the rest of the state as well as the rest of the world. So I'm grateful to be here.
Excellent, excellent. It is so good to have you here on Zooming In on Sustainability and to talk about our journey, because we actually launched our SCIPL Global Tree Project when you were here on St. Helena for our field day. Yeah, for Gullah Geechee agriculture. We were out there trying to get folks fishing and teach them a little bit about farming. And so a lot of times in the South, as you know, when we think about going out and getting into the dirt, you either think of a couple of things. Your mama telling you don't be coming in the house dirty or getting in the bathtub, right? We out there playing all that dirt, or we think about food. Like when we hear about getting out there, we think about food. But in this case with the tree, and some folks will say, hey, but there's still fruit trees, so that's still food, What about the tree? Why did you think, as the project director for SCIPL, that this was really a good idea for us to go out here and try to encourage others to plant trees?
Wow. Well, I'll be honest with you, a year ago, I would not have realized how important trees are. Certainly, we learn in school about the need for trees for our oxygen, but I don't think that most of us realize how vital, how critical trees are to the very existence of all of us. And over the past years, as I mentioned, learning from you and so many others who are leading the way in South Carolina about issues around flooding, for example, and clear cutting being one of the reasons, land development, the way that we are developing properties and communities being a contributor to the flooding that some areas are seeing. I live in the upstate, and we have seen 50 and 100-year floods happen every other year now. And a lot of that is because of the way that we're developing our communities, and we are not being intentional about working with the land, working with what God has given us to be able to sustain and keep our stabilize our communities. So that is why I felt it was really important. I'm also involved with another organization, and we work with an organization called Partners in Agriculture in Haiti. And they're working specifically in the Central Plateau area of Haiti. And again, those communities have been devastated, are not even able to provide for their children. And so as a result of the dire situation that they are in, a lot of times the practices are making it worse because they are cutting down the one thing that could help with bringing vitality and sustainability to the communities again. So again, the trees are important here in South Carolina and in the United States, but they are also extremely important for communities that are hardest hit by many different factors. And without bringing awareness to the fact that, you know, just a dollar plants a tree in many countries,
Exactly.
including our own, really. And so
Right.
by contributing a little bit to addressing our tree challenges, we can really do a lot to be able to sustain a lot of people in those communities that are most vulnerable.
Absolutely. And, you know, when you say the blessing of the land, you know, we are supposed to be stewards of the land. That's really what God wants us to be. And some of us have this attitude that we want to be gods over the land instead of being stewards of the land. And so I think that's what brings in a lot of the destruction that we have seen, not just on this coast, but like you said, in Haiti and Pakistan and
Wow.
Trinidad. All
We are getting a storm right now.
And I was going to say
I'm
to
going
you,
to turn my camera off and
okay,
move to
a safe
another space.
Yes, because I was going to say to you, I'm hearing some background noise. Are you okay? But yes, so we're going to let Sister Alecia move quickly. But this is one of the things that happens, you know, at this time of year. Here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, we are literally in a hurricane zone. Now, Sister Alecia is further inland, but we've learned this season that you can't think that, oh, because I live inland, not on the shore, that I'm not going to be impacted by these sudden storms, especially tropical storms in nature. And for the last couple of days, we've had a massive amount of rain and wind, but mostly rain coming in. And that's one of the things that we're always concerned about when we start trying to address environmental issues in communities. And especially, as Sister Alecia just talked about, with Haiti. Many of us just spent the past few days, you might have spent today, if you're a person that watches the global news at all, you might have spent today actually seeing the horrific images at the US-Mexico border, where the planes are just steadily coming. These people are on horseback and they're actually loading the people who are Haitians who've migrated. They migrated all the way from Haiti to many of the countries that are, one would say, in Central America in some cases, and then made their way to North America into Mexico. Some were able to come across, get to Mexico by boats, by planes, and then walking and catching rides and everything they had to do to get to the border of Mexico and the US, trying to make their way into the US, only for the US to put them back on some planes, ship them out, send them possibly back to Haiti, and they said to some other locations. We don't know what those other locations are. So our prayers definitely go out to the Haitian family. When there was a revolution here in the, one would say, the US South, where they were colonizing, we had soldiers that look like me come and help us. So the Gullah Geechees have a really ongoing family and global relationship with the other islands of the world and other communities on these islands like Haiti. And so we are very concerned about the fact that as all of this type of clear cutting goes on and the rains come and the waters of the ocean continue to get warmer, there are going to be more storms and wetter storms. That was stated in a press event that I was in earlier today with others in North Carolina. One of the scientists pointed that out, that as the ocean warms, the warmer it gets, it contributes to more storms and wetter storms. All of this is part of climate change. Now, what we don't realize is it doesn't end there. When that happens and that water comes in mass, and there are what we call deluge storms, then we can also have mudslides. We can have situations where you have communities of people around the globe that are put in jeopardy because they are in situations where they can't immediately get away. They have nowhere to get away to. And in comes the rain. The rain comes down the mountainside where the trees have been clear cut, because the trees were cut to create charcoal to cook food on or to create heat. Now you have the mudslide. You have people that die in the mudslide. There's no immediate way to get in and help. Now you have bodies decaying there in this mud. So that creates other health problems. That causes a continued slide down of human health, human safety. So sometimes people say, oh, you tree huggers and stuff, but not recognizing how much the tree does for all of we, for every one of these communities. So now if this continues and you have the opportunity to leave a country where you are food insecure, you have just upheaval right now with violence and everything. People are panicking. People are migrating. People are moving. And it's not just out of Haiti over to North America. It's all over the world that people are migrating because they don't have food security in places. And many times they don't have food security in those places for the same reason we don't have trees there. Somebody thought it would be a wise idea to cut down everything that naturally grew in a place and many times pave over everything. We're not going to eat asphalt and concrete, people, so we have to think, we have to plan in advance. Like Sister Alecia has said, we have to be more mindful about what it is we are doing to the land. Are we truly providing stewardship? And are we then caring for every living being on the land, the trees and the rest of humanity? And so when we talk about this work, about the Global Tree Project that we're working on, we looked at what was happening in various communities. And it's been really intriguing to me over the course of this month as we research more things and share the information. We tweet it out, we post it, we put it on Instagram. It's been interesting to learn more about what trees provide to people, not just with the root systems that do keep then the earth in place so we can protect low-lying areas like the Sea Islands from flooding and high mountainous areas in the Caribbean from all the mudslides. When I thought about this, I thought about the juxtaposition with Haiti being very mountainous and hilly, Trinidad being mountainous and hilly, where we're in the low country and it's flat. So, but then thinking, wow, but we all have a duty to bring back more trees, to plant more of these trees. And it's not a massive, it's not as massive an undertaking as you would think. As Sister Alecia said, it's $1 to plant a tree. I think candy costs more than $1 at the store now. The same candy we used to go to the store with a quarter and get a dime and get is $1 now. So what would it take? And here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, you don't even necessarily have to pay $1. There are people in the Midlands and the upcountry of South Carolina who want trees so that they can get better air quality. And you may have a tree in your yard that just came up that you're like, what is it doing here? I don't want this tree right here because you want your little landscape yard. Well, you could dig up that tree, pot it, and donate it. But there's something that you can do. And I feel like the more that we get out there and we touch the soil, we can touch each other's souls globally. What do you think, Sister Alecia?
Oh, I absolutely agree. This project is one that I think is universal. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what area of the state you live in. We can all play a part, whether it is planting a tree in the community that we live in, or whether it's donating, contributing to one of these initiatives that's already proven to be successful in South Carolina or in other places around the world. We can all play a part in making our future more sustainable, but also the future of everyone throughout this entire world. And so that's what's really special, I think, about this is, you know, many times when we are working in our communities, we are thinking about the people that we can see there. But just imagine the impact that you have when you are planting a tree in your community and realizing how many hundreds of people that one tree is going to contribute to the quality of life of. I mean, that is something that just doesn't typically happen from, you know, a $1 contribution. And that's something that's, you know, again, a year ago, I would not have even realized or thought about the impact that I could have with just $1. And so
Mm-hmm.
again, you know, even a child, like you said, who, you know, gets $1 or a couple of dollars from, you know, their parents or from something they've done, they could actually contribute to building you know, the continuation of their community and to communities after that. So I agree. This is probably one of the most important initiatives I've ever been a part of. And so I just would, you know, certainly, you know, encourage others to just, like you said, stop and get familiar. That one of the things that I think helps all of us with really understanding things is by getting close, getting proximate with the thing. Sometimes it's right in front of us that we bypass and don't even think about most of the time. But if we get close and personal to it, we begin to realize how important that person or that tree or that, you know, whatever that entity is, and how important it is to our own existence.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so y'all hear us saying, come on, donate, give, be a part. Y'all probably already wondering, well, how do we do that? So we're going to tell you right now. It's real easy. If you want to make a donation, please do it before October the 4th. We have a goal of $12,000 that we want to raise by October the 4th, 2021. All you have to do is go to www.scipl. So South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light. So scipl.org, then slash global dash tree dash project. So not the underscore, but the dash, the one that looks like a minus. So if you go there, you'll also see that there will be little buttons at the bottom. You'll see the little blue boxes. You can click on it. So if you say, well, wow, right now, like I was talking about Haiti, we've been talking about Haiti and with everything that's going on, I want to donate there. You can actually target your donation. You could say, well, yes, I want to donate to Haiti, I want to donate to Trinidad, I want to donate to Pakistan, I want to donate to the Gullah Geechee Nation. It's all right there. And I want you to definitely contribute. But when you see the Global Tree Project banner there, you'll also see that we have a lot of educational information. And that's what's so critical, because you heard Sister Alecia say, even a year ago, she wasn't even thinking about how important a tree is. And here she is in South Carolina, and our very flag has a tree in the middle of it. So you would say, how ironic is that, you know? But like you're saying, we bypass trees all day long, you know, not thinking about it, driving, walking, whatever, stand underneath them and don't really think about the value they add to our human lives. So since we've been doing this initiative this month, what was a new thing that you might have learned about a tree and how it helps our environment overall?
Well, that's really interesting. One of the things that I was not aware of are the projects that are going on in other countries. So it was wonderful to learn about what's going on in Trinidad, to learn about the programming that the organization that you're affiliated with is working on.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Mhm.
that has been one of the best things for me to get out of this, is really just learning about the amazing work that's already being done around the world. And unfortunately, like me, I think there's too many of us who don't realize that this great work is going on. So
Mhm.
I think, it is really imperative that, because this is such an important issue, that we all get familiar with at least one organization that is doing the work of trying to build a more sustainable environment for all of us,
Mhm.
because they know what works. And so I
Yeah.
think if we can get behind those projects that are working, then our contributions are just going to be even more powerful than us trying to go it alone. So it's
Yeah.
always great to collaborate and to be able to build power together.
Absolutely. So speaking about that perfect word you ended on, because I want to ask you this. South
Mm-hmm.
Carolina Interfaith Power and Light. How did it come about and what is it really? Because we have viewers that are in South Carolina or that are natives to South Carolina that live all around the world now. And they're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, I'm not familiar with that. I grew up in the church or whatever. I didn't know they had
Mm-hmm.
a group like that. So tell us a little bit about it. What is South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light and when did it come about?
Sure. So South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light was founded many years ago by chaplain of Wofford University, Reverend Ron Robinson.
Mhm.
Now, Interfaith Power and Light is a national movement of people of faith who are working to address climate change and now environmental justice.
Mhm.
So we work together on various projects across the country. There are some initiatives that all Interfaith Power and Light affiliates, as South Carolina is an affiliate of Interfaith Power and Light, do, that are similar. But then there are also things like the Global Tree Project that are very unique to that particular state. So in South Carolina, as I mentioned before, I've been working with South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light for about the past year.
Mhm.
We have a couple of really unique programs that have been very impactful in South Carolina. One of them being our Congregational Energy Efficiency Challenge. That
Yeah.
program started about 3 years ago, and over the past 3 years, we've been able to work with seven. They've all been churches. However, again, this is an interfaith organization, so we're able to work with organizations of any faith.
Yeah.
And exactly. But they have been able to essentially get a grant. So we are investing directly into these churches to be able to address energy efficiency in their house of worship. So they might, for example, change out all of the light bulbs and put in insulation. And just doing that may save them 50% on their energy bills alone. So these are small grants of maybe $2,000, $2,500 to address something that can be simply addressed. Some of
Mhm.
the projects are a little bit more expensive and a little bit more expensive.
Right.
However, what we found is that those small investments bring back, quadruple, if not
Massive
more, 10
return.
times over the
Yeah.
return of the investment. And many of the houses of worship and the faith leaders are seeing that it's coming a lot quicker than they even thought that it would be.
That's good.
So yes, so that's been one of the most popular programs that we have. We also have a new program that was started in 2021 called our Faith Leaders Civic Engagement Academy. And the purpose of the Civic Engagement Academy was really to be able to meet people where they were. We
Mhm.
all have, various issues that our communities are directly impacted by. However, there is typically a common thread, and many of us share similar stories and similar situations. And so this
Mhm.
offers faith leaders, and it doesn't have to be a pastor, it doesn't have to be, a rabbi. This can be really anyone, any person who is led to impact their community because of their faith, their values, that is a driver for the work that they're doing. They're able to participate in it's between 2 and 3 day
Mhm.
training with the Office of Minority Affairs in Audubon, South Carolina, to learn about what advocacy is, how to engage in advocacy. They're able to learn about issues that are impacting communities across the state. And they also are able to meet some of the policymakers, some of the elected officials, and understand how best to engage with those people so that they can be more effective at addressing the issues that they are most concerned about. And of course, we tie in environment, we tie in climate change, we tie in those topics, but we realize that people may have a specific priority that they are working to address. And so our role is to make sure they have the resources and have the network, built out network that they need to be able to address those concerns.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
those are two,
Yeah.
those are two of our most, I guess, popular programs. We also do a series called Climate, Faith, and Health, and we do that with the South Carolina Health Professionals for Climate Action, which is also a new organization in South Carolina. They started about a year ago, and their organization focuses on engaging the healthcare community in advancing strategies for mitigating the harmful impacts of climate change on health. And so they are specifically interested in being able to address those community members who are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, the impacts of rising temperatures, the impacts of things like the season for pollen, some people's chronic allergies and sinus issues are becoming worse because of our changing climate. So those are the things that they are able to educate the public on. So we have a monthly series with those healthcare professionals as well as individuals who are being directly impacted by climate.
Wonderful. Well, I know that the way that I got linked up really with SCIPL and starting to learn more about these same initiatives that you've told us about was due to the human element and the film screenings and dialoguing about what is happening to the land, what's happening to the water, what's happening to the air. And so here it is that during that discussion really was the inspiration that said, now is the moment, to be able to do this, to really bring all this together, to get people here. And I'm so happy to hear about these other groups that are now working on things that the Gullah Geechee Sustainability Think Tank has worked with the Medical University of South Carolina. They're members of it. We've talked about these health impacts that climate change is having. We work with Union of Concerned Scientists. We've done sessions, had them here on Zooming In on Sustainability to talk about what happens with heat frustration, heat island effect and its impact on people, and even that impact of migration that we were talking about, trying to find other places where people will be able to sustain their human health and also food security, because the hotter it is, the shorter the cycles on food growth in many places, but much less the shorter the cycle of life for many people because of this. And so I know that one of the most memorable things from our two different screenings of the human element was, well, two things that were really memorable. One is just being at home in South Carolina and knowing there's this many people that are concerned and passionate about this from all different faiths. That's number one. But number two was the impact that my sister Fareeha, assalamu alaikum, had on us the evening when we started to talk about the trees and to talk about the air and what that connection was, and to give her own passionate story about her home country of Pakistan, even though somehow y'all got her planted here in South Kakalaki now in Greenville. So Sister Fareeha, how are you today?
I'm very good, and walaikum salam, and you said assalamu alaikum perfectly. That's super impressive. It's a difficult phrase to memorize. And thank you for the introduction. Climate change was not on my mind for the longest time that I've been in South Carolina till I was contacted by Sustaining Way and contacted by SIPL. So I've worked a lot on all different issues of social justice. And it did not take me long to link social justice with climate change, with climate justice, right? With what is happening and being, and then just by studying more about where I am from, I grew up for 26 years of my life in a country which has been ranked 5th worstly affected by the climate change. The country which is among the lowest forest cover in the world, the country which has one of the most polluted cities in the world. Like, I grew up there, I was breathing in the air, which is so lethal, which has so adverse effects, on the health of the people. My own family, my own mother, who's like, 75 years old now, she's breathing in that air every day. And all my friends, all my families, and everybody over there, they deserve better.
Yes.
They deserve better. If you have seen the video that is posted today on the SIPL Facebook page, I made that video when I was in Pakistan just this summer. And in that video, you can see that there's haze, there is smog, you don't see a clear blue sky. I mean, you don't see a clear blue sky at any time, And if you just pick up your phone and check your weather app, go and check the weather of Lahore. And over here you'll see clouds, right? Over there, they'll just show you haze.
Haze.
This is what you see. So this is what, and in this global village, which I said that global warming has to be a global warning, right? We have to be, we are linked, we are in this together. On this planet where water only exists here. We have not found another planet where water can exist. The elements of life, right?
Yes.
Elements of life exist on this planet only, and there's only one place we call home, and this is our planet Earth.
That's right.
And interestingly, Pakistan contributes very less to the greenhouse gases because we don't have a lot of industry, but Pakistan is facing the worst effect. It contributes very little to the pollutants. It doesn't has those, it contributes very little to the greenhouse gas emissions. But it's one of the worst, which is facing the the effects of how we are trashing our planet, right? By overproduction, right? By the industry, by just like plundering the resources.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we have to own this. And one of the reasons I got involved into the issue of climate change is because of the calling of the stewardship of the planet upon us as human beings, the human element, right? Who is responsible for what is happening to the planet Earth right now?
Right.
I mean, I cannot put blame on anyone but my own self, right? We humans are the major contributors to what is happening in the planet. Absolutely. So that's my calling. So as Muslims, I am a staunch believer in in following the commandments that has been given to me, because we only live once. I always say I have to be the change. And I learned it over the years that I keep saying, why are they not doing it? When I say why they're not doing it, then I have to say, why am I not doing it? Why am I not doing it? Right. So I own this.
Yes.
I have to own the issue of climate change. I have to own the issue of the deforestation, right? Yeah. And being from that part of the world, I feel that since I lived half of my life over there, and then in South Carolina, I would not even have known it better if I would not have moved here. Maybe I would have thought that this is the life, this is the way things are, and this is how it is. But now I see the difference, right? So now God has brought me here, and God has opened my eyes, created this awareness, created this opportunity, created this front for me. And if that is what it is that God wants me to do, then I'm up for it. So I just believe in this calling, right? That if I have the resources, if I have the ability, if I have the voice, You know, if I can write, if I can speak,
Mm-hmm.
if I can do what it takes, you know, then I must do that. I have to be the change I want to see in the world. So
Absolutely.
although it's not, you know, I have a background in architecture. I'm teaching middle school social studies here in upstate South Carolina. Um, but I feel that, you know, and more I learn about it, the more I feel more driven to it, more
Mhm.
passionate about it. And the
Mhm.
way things are moving, the way things are heading, when not many are paying heed to the issue, then
Mhm.
there needs to be a more of an outcry, especially in Pakistan. In the
Mhm.
country that I am from, there's so much poverty that they're not going to care about the air when they don't have enough to eat.
Eat. Yeah.
So if I am sitting in a more resourceful part of the world, that it's my job to maybe able to do those things which an average Pakistani cannot do for their country
Right.
because it's such a poor country. And
Mhm.
if I don't have to worry about the food on my table, then maybe I can worry about the clean air
Yeah.
for the country that I'm from. Because the people over there, they themselves, they cannot, because
Right.
they have to prioritize things. And for them, sometimes they have to choose between sending their children to school or giving them food. They're not going to think about climate change when they're
Right.
just thinking about, you know, how are they going to survival, when it's
Mhm.
just it's a survival mode for them. So
Mm.
being, I always, you know, I tell my students as well, in America we make about 3% of the world population, but we use like 36% of the world resources.
Was
So
resources.
we have taken more of our lion's share of the resources here. We Americans have a big footprint, right? So we have to, like today I was reading the news that America is buying more vaccination to share with the poor world. We should be doing that on every front, right? If we have more, then, you
Share it.
know, we should be sharing. We
Mhm.
should be creating more awareness. You know, if we have the biggest voice, right? If the people look upon us, then we have to show the kind, compassionate side of America, not the side where we are sending drones, where we
Right.
are
Right.
sending, you know, I'm so much against reaching out to the world in the way that American politics many do that just by aggression and oppression. They're not going to solve the world problems. It's better to send books than, you know, bombs. I
And
always
bomb.
say that.
That's right.
You know,
That's
and this time around, it's better to send them trees, right? It's
yes.
better to, that's why we have included like Trinidad, like, you know, Haiti, like, you know, like
Mhm.
Pakistan, because we want to contribute on a global level to
Mhm.
the issue of deforestation, to the
Absolutely.
issue of climate change.
Mhm.
We want to tell them we just don't care about ourselves locally, but we care about it globally. It's not a
Absolutely.
local campaign, but a global campaign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, as you're talking, you're reminding me so much of just being sitting there at the UN, and then, as we call it, preaching to the choir, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, like there, everybody, oh yes, yes, climate change, oh
Yeah,
yes, yes, you know, UN Sustainable Development Goal, oh yes, yes, reforestation. But then it all boils down to resources. It
yeah,
boils down to budgeting. It boils down to the planning of where do these resources go and who's paying for it. And so this time, as Sister Alecia and I were saying, this is an opportunity for all of us to pay for it and to pay it forward so that
mm,
other generations of children don't grow up like you were saying, where you never saw blue sky
mm.
until you left Pakistan. We want the next Fareeha, because it's been so interesting for me. I go to try to type your name in on things thinking your name's unique. And then it's all these Fareehas that pop up. And so now I'm like, that's right. In her country, it's probably a lot of Fareehas, you
Yeah, a
know,
lot of it.
a
It's
lot,
actually
right?
I was born in Iran, so my name is
Uh-huh.
actually a Persian name.
Ah,
So
interesting.
yeah, so it's an Irani, Iraqi, that part. And then, and then I lived in Saudi Arabia too. This can be found in Arabic and Persia and in Urdu. So it's kind of like a regional name rather
Regional
than,
name.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's the thing is we're in our region of the world, it's not a common name.
Yeah.
But when I typed in to find pictures of you, it was like, oh, wait a minute, that's right. Where she's from, there's probably millions of
Yeah.
Fareehas, right? So it's the same thing tying in to think about it. Well, a common link here is what is here and what is there. Trees. So
Trees.
I'm wondering about this with Pakistan. Is it the natural environment or is it the pillaging of the resources that you mentioned
Yeah.
that caused this depletion of
Yeah.
forestation? What happened with the forests there in the first
Yeah.
place?
Yeah. So there is the natural topography of Pakistan itself as well. Much of Pakistan is a desert known as the third desert, right? So that's why naturally Pakistan does not, one part of a big chunk of Pakistan does not have, because of its natural topography, a lot of trees. And then there is pillaging of the resources as well. There's like, you cannot imagine, Queen Quet, that how many people are there in the city that I live in. The people in that one city are more than the whole state of California, right? In
Wow.
one city, and California being the biggest state. And,
Yes.
like the amount of people, I just posted a picture in the video. If you go see that, the overcrowding that is over there, the influx of the people moving from the rural areas to that urban areas, and the industry, and then lack of regulations, lack of laws, lack of government regulations of building and industrial construction and all of those things, and massive corruption, which is unfortunately there in Pakistan. When I was trying to find an organization, I could not find a single organization in Pakistan that I can bring on, on the platform of the South Carolina Independent SIPL, where we can send the resources directly to Pakistan for them to use for. I was not sure if the organization is legit or not, right? So I had the organization we are working right now is based in California, and I called up the person and said it's really hard to work on ground in Pakistan because of the corruption in Pakistan right now, because of the lack of security of the volunteer work that is being done over there. And this is because of the, like the poor countries, the socioeconomic status of the poor country, it goes at length at this, that, describing how that country works, right? The poor countries work way different than the rich countries work. In poor countries, it's very hard to regulate it. It's very hard to bring in ideas which are not really crucial for them. For them, it doesn't matter if they have to cut down trees and have to make industry and have to make houses and making housing neighborhoods and schemes. It's not on their minds. It's not on their priorities. They don't care. So their lives are meant to solve short-term problems.
Yes.
They're not even looking at long term.
Right. I see what you're
They
saying.
don't even look at long term in what is happening in Pakistan, what long term effects it has on the climate, because they are just looking for short term solutions. And this is actually a very dangerous kind of like a setup, because down the road they'll face those problems, and Pakistan already is facing those problems. The Prime Minister of Pakistan eventually realized that's why they have the billion tree tsunami program now. So what they have done in Pakistan, they have created a lot of problems, and now they're trying to solve all those problems. They have created those problems.
Now
and they didn't realize they're heading that way. They have created all those problems, and now they're trying to undo that. Right, trying to solve their problems. So they should not have they should not have done many of those things, many of those lack of policies in the first place, that they will end up like this. But this is what it is. They're trying to solve the problems that they created.
Right. Well, inshallah, all of our work will help to bring about
Yeah.
some solutions to these problems, and so that the future will be brighter, literally and figuratively, in terms of the skies clearing and being more
Yeah.
healthy. And so I am just blessed by being able to work with you and Sister Alecia and the rest of the members of SCIPL to even do this global tree project. And I was very happy to know that our leadership body wants to make this something permanent, that every year we can continue this campaign. And so we'll be able to definitely contribute and not just have big footprints, but let's have some root prints. Let's have some roots.
Exactly.
Get rooted in these places and these spaces, and let's uproot the corruption and the lack of concern for humanity. And like you said before, who can we speak to but ourselves? This is an Anthropocene thing. It's a human thing. We are that additional element that's causing a lot of this. And so I'm so happy that both of you were able to come for zooming in on sustainability today. And once again, viewers, if you want to also contribute to the solution, because many times when people talk about climate change, we don't talk about how we can change the climate by giving, by caring, by being concerned, by sharing even this information with others. So please go to www.scipl.org/global-tree-project. You can donate there. You can donate directly to Pakistan, directly to Trinidad, directly to Haiti, directly to the Gullah Geechee Nation. You can also connect with us here at the Gullah Geechee Nation. Go to gullahgeecheenation.com. And we will be re-airing this on gullahgeechee.tv. So GULLAHGEECHEE.tv. As we've talked about here today, and with some of the questions I asked, many people don't know what is going on. We talk about reforestation. What happened to the forest? Where was it? Did they have it in the first place? So this is an opportunity to share this information with others in the world, because the more that we reach out and educate one another, God willing, we can make the world a better place. And so, Sister Alecia, as our leader here at South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light, do you have any more words to kind of shine the light on our viewers today?
I think that, Fareeha, it's great to see you. The two of you really said, already probably all that needs to be said. But I guess for me, as I mentioned before, this was something that I didn't realize, that the solution was right in front of my face. And I think that's something for us to just, to reflect on, that many of us are concerned about so many things in our communities and our homes. And in this case, the solution is simple: the trees.
Yes.
It's been here. They have been here before we were here. They are vital. They're critical for our survival. And when we simply stop and care for our trees, we're caring for each other. So thank you for allowing Fareeha and Queen Quet for allowing South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light to join up with your desires to make communities green again, to make communities vital, give the vitality back to our communities and to our earth. So that's all that I have to say, is thank you to both of you for your leadership.
Yes, peace and blessings and love to both of you. Tanky to all 100 children what day out there. You know who I be. I the Queen Quet, head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. And you always hear me say, Hunter must take care of the root for heal the tree. So this your time. Go on to that website and help we for heal the world. Peace, blessings, and love to everyone out there. We wish you good health and safety wherever Hunter to be. Peace.